I needed a win. I needed a cry. As the clock ticked past 7 minutes of stoppage time, the hair on my arms stood up, and I began shaking. And our keeper, Vicario, slammed his boot against the ball, then the whistle. I immediately collapsed and the tears started flowing. My dog licked my face and barked out of concern. He's never seen me cry. But today of all days are when the tears had to flow. My favorite English football team had finally won something. You're listening to a podcast called Least Important Things. I'm your host, Luke Ferris.
Has it happened? It has happened!
We've done it, Rob, we've done it!
The wait for silverware is over! The moment you've been waiting for is here! Well, for many there have already been tears for a moment they've waited on for years. 17 for silverware, 41 for this. Tottenham Hotspur are the UEFA Europa League winners!
I started rooting for Tottenham when I was around 15 or 16. I'd started getting into soccer thanks to the World Cup, like many Americans. However, this was a time when watching an English team was extremely difficult. You either had to have a specific paid Fox Soccer channel, or you had to wait until ESPN2 would show a game on a Tuesday or Monday afternoon. Typically, it was Manchester United. So I chose Tottenham. Why? Well, as a lifelong Detroit sports fan, I felt like the team that I cheered for needed to have a lovable loser aspect to them. Now, a lovable loser is a team or player that just quite doesn't get over the line. They don't necessarily make opposing teams angry based off of their attitude. They're just likable. They're lovable losers. So I did my research of all the English teams, and I narrowed down on Tottenham because of their history, their culture, and, as many people say, you don't really choose the club chooses you. Tottenham's motto is, "To dare is to do." They've always had a stylish flair to their type of play. They've had iconic players who have gone on to greater things, but they've never been a dominant force in the game. When I started following them, they started to acquire some bright, young talent, and sometimes I would actually be able to watch them on television. Otherwise, I'd have to find other avenues to see the game. But no matter the young talent, the exciting football, the fresh ideas from innovative managers, Tottenham just couldn't get over the line. And this season was no different.
Robbie, it feels like this final, for the neutrals, very tasty because it feels like it's everything. It's the trophy, it's the Champions League playing next season, but it's also the money from the Champions League, or it's bust.
Yeah, well, it's going to be bust for Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham. Wow. I mean, it's amazing to think these two teams, after the season they've had, are at this situation where one of them is going to play Champions League football. I mean, it's just incredible. I think for Tottenham, and Ange Postecoglou is saying that he always wins a trophy in his second season. This is kind of remarkable. Like, he might actually do it.
Yeah, where do you stand on that, Tim? Because if Tottenham do lift that trophy, we've got to remember not since 2008 have they had silverware in the cupboard at Tottenham. It's going to be...
So it was literally an all-or-nothing type of experience this season. Alongside the Tottenham season, which started in August of 2024, I also was going through a personally challenging time. I had lost my job. I was trying to figure out things in my career. Throughout the winter, I struggled with depression, and it probably didn't help that my favorite soccer team was disappointing me every Saturday morning. Like all of us, when we have hard times, we seek out escape, we seek out connection. And this spring, after going through a challenging time, I brought these two loves of escapism through sport and connection together in real life. Now, I've talked about my only soccer watching friends in a previous episode about the World Cup. Essentially, this is a group of friends that have connections through college that have been in a group chat about Tottenham and soccer for the past 7-8 years. This spring was the first time we actually got together in person for the first time, all of us. We went to a soccer game here in Chicago, and we also went to the Tottenham specific bar here in Chicago called the Atlantic to watch Tottenham perform another dismal Tottenham performance. But our time together, though short, reminded me that these connections that we make through a hobby, through sports, through a team, are really powerful. The four of us were able to connect at a deeper level because we've shared text threads, Zoom calls over the years about, obviously, our favorite team, but also through the highs and lows of life. And coming together at the end of this brutal season and challenging times for not just me, but all of us, it was sweet. It was special. It was a release. It was a full circle moment. Something that probably needed to happen a long time ago, but was required this season. Fanhood is about loyalty, community, and a safe space to express emotion. While this is a bit of a stereotype, men have a hard time expressing emotions. A lot of times we can do that in the safety and the comfort of sports, either in a stadium or watching on TV or at a sports bar. The 90 minutes, the 2 halves, the 4 quarters is a safe space for men to showcase all their emotions, anger, frustration, sadness. It's one of those rare spots in our culture where it's okay for men to let loose, to really give everything they have out for the sake of cheering for a team, for being a loyal fan. And while you have nothing to do with the X's and O's of the game, you have everything to do with the weight of what's happening on the field. Because fans create the stakes, both financially and emotionally. And sport is a safe place to express those range of emotions for good and sometimes evil. But it's all part of what makes these moments so powerful in sport. What makes these moments more than just kicking a ball in a net. It allows us to process the pain of our everyday in the confines of a field, court, stadium, comment threads, or even radio show. So when my favorite English club, Tottenham Hotspur, won a trophy for the first time in 17 years, the first time I had experienced them winning anything since I'd been a fan, it was more than a game. It was a moment that I needed, that my friends needed, that hundreds of thousands of fans that support Tottenham all over the world and the north side of London needed. Because we had spent hours of our lives loyally following them, talking about this team. For so many people, the club is their life. It's their escape. It's their hobby. It's their everything. I talked about this in an article I wrote over COVID, how following this team saved me, kept me mentally sane. Soccer was one of the first things that came back after COVID, and it allowed me to have something to look forward to every week. So even though I was thousands of miles away from the stadium where Tottenham won, I felt a kinship and camaraderie because I had committed so much of my emotional experience, energy, and time into this club. And football club is an accurate description. Your dues are your emotional loyalty. And when friends who have chosen other Premier League clubs, which I love, friends that know me as a soccer fan, talk about why I chose Tottenham and give me some banter for how bad we've been recently, I've always said that the pain, the suffering, the challenges of being a fan in the confines of sport makes winning all the more sweeter.
He's with us now. Son, are you a legend now?
He already was.
Yeah,
Let's say I'm a legend.
Why
not?
You said once.
Only today.
You said once you wouldn't call yourself a legend until you'd won a trophy with the club.
Look, 17 years, nobody haven't done it, so with such amazing players, yeah, today's the day. Probably I will say today I'm a legend of this club, so yeah, let's enjoy, let's celebrate.
How does it feel, winning Spurs' first trophy for 17 years?
Wow, feeling amazing. That's what I always dream for, and today is the day that happened. Dream come really, really true, so yeah, what can I say? I'm so happy. Happiest the man in the world.
I live about a 7-minute walk from Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs, a former lovable loser team that hadn't won a World Series in a century. And while that victory happened almost a decade ago, I still see people wearing t-shirts, World Series champion 2016. I see the banners flying. I see flags of that World Series because that moment was so seminal for that team. Generations had never seen the Cubs win a World Series or even dreamed of them winning a World Series. They had disappointment after disappointment. So you may mock me that it'd be better to be a Liverpool fan, a City fan, or a Yankees fan. But if you loyally follow a club, a team like I follow Tottenham Hotspur, this moment is so much more meaningful. The payoff is worth the pain. And it's been a couple weeks since the final, and already fans have started to think about next season and think about transfers, think about who's coaching. And it's like life, whether it's a wedding, a graduation, a job, success, the moment passes and we go back to our daily life. And that's what being a fan is. That's what being a human is. But I think for myself, for my fellow Tottenham fans, for my friends that have gone with me through this journey over the past 7, 8, 9 years, we'll always remember this moment as fans. I'll always remember crying in my apartment. I'll always remember watching our captain, Youngmin's son, cry into the arms of James Madison. Because this is what sport is all about. It's about these moments that we share as a culture, as a community, and the price is worth it. Because when your team finally wins something, you've won something.